In the last class, we discussed about the network elements resistor, capacitor and inductor. Now today we'll see the energy sources. As you all know, there are two types of energy sources, current source and voltage source. Now energy source can be further divided into independent sources and dependent source. By independent source, what we mean is the value the voltage source or the current source provide is independent of the circuit parameters or circuit conditions. Whereas dependent source means it doesn't have a fixed value. Instead, the value of voltage or the value of current that it supplies depend on some circuit parameter. Such sources are called as dependent sources. First we'll see independent sources, and in that we'll start with ideal voltage source. Now ideal voltage source is shown here in the figure. Now for an ideal voltage source, the voltage it provides is completely independent of the current flowing through it. That is, as you can see in this graph, the voltage V, which is the voltage drop connected across the load, is always constant. That the value is Vs, where Vs is the value of the voltage source. That means for an ideal voltage source, the internal resistance is 0 and there is no drop in between. That is, if you are supplying a voltage Vs, the full voltage will drop across the load. Depending on the value of the load, the current value may change. But again, as shown in the graph, we can see that the output voltage is independent of the current flowing through it. Output voltage will always be constant and will be equal to the value of the source. Now for example, consider these two circuits. Now in the first case, the source value is 2 volt and I am connecting across it a 2 ohm. So if 2 ohm is connected across 2 volt, then I will be V by R, 2 by 2, which is 1 ampere. So in the circuit, 1 ampere will be the current flowing through it, and the voltage drop across 2 ohm will be 2 into I, which is 2 volt. Now in the second case, you can see I have changed the value of the load from 2 ohm to 4 ohm. Accordingly, it's the current that changed from 1 ampere to 0.5 ampere. Again, the drop across the load remains as 2 volt itself. So for an ideal voltage source, the internal resistance will be 0 and the output voltage is independent of the current flowing through it. Whatever be the current flowing through the circuit, the voltage it delivers will remain the same. This is ideal voltage source. But in case of practical voltage source, we'll see that it has an internal impedance or internal resistance. In the ideal case, the internal resistance was 0, but when it comes to practical voltage sources, there will be an internal resistance which is shown here as Rs. So now what happened here? The output voltage V is not equal to Vs. Instead, V will be equal to the total voltage applied minus drop across this internal impedance. So there will be some drop across the internal resistance Rs. So the output voltage will be difference of the input voltage minus drop across Rs. That is, V will be equal to Vs minus I into Rs. So as you can see in the graph, as current increases, drop across Rs will increase, right? The second term will increase and therefore the output voltage will slightly decrease. So this is the graph of practical voltage source. Next we will see ideal current source. Now here we have a current source in parallel with a load resistance. Suppose Is is the value of the current source and I is the current flowing through the load, resulting in a voltage across it V. Now the internal resistance of ideal current source is infinite. That means there will be an internal resistance in parallel to the current source and its value is infinite, means there won't be any current flowing through that infinite resistance. Instead, the complete current provided by the current source will flow through the load. So that you can see here in the graph, when we plot the output current versus voltage, we'll see that the output current is always a constant Is, which is same as that of the source current. That Is is capital Is. Okay. So an ideal current source will always produce a constant output current irrespective of the value of load connected to it. For example, now consider the case here. You have a 2 ampere source across which you connect a 2 ohm. And we'll see that the current flowing through the resistance is 2 ampere and the drop will be 4 volt. Whereas in the second case where I have changed the load to 4 ohm, the voltage drop across it has increased to 8 volt and the current is always the same. Next is practical voltage source. In practical voltage source, the internal resistance is a finite one and you can see it in parallel to the current source. So for a practical voltage source, there will be an internal resistance parallel to the current source. So what happens is, when you connect a load across the current source, some amount of the current will flow through this internal resistance, so that the output current will not be same as that of Is, the source current. So if I is the current flowing through the load, I will be equal to the total current minus I1, where I1 is the current flowing through the internal resistance. I1 can be written as V by Rs. So the total current at the output will be Is minus V by Rs. Okay, so when voltage increases, what happens? The second term will increase, resulting in a decreased output current, that is shown here in the graph. As voltage increases, the output current will decrease rather than stay as constant in ideal case. So for an ideal case, current will always be constant since the internal impedance is infinite. Whereas in practical case, you will see that as voltage increases, the current will decrease. So that is all about ideal current source and practical. Oh, it's not practical voltage source. Sorry, it's a mistake. It's practical current source. Okay. Now we have seen both voltage source as well as current source. Now we'll see how to convert voltage source to current source and vice versa. It is source transformation. Now why we have to learn this is, in several cases, the analysis will become easier if we are able to convert voltage source to current source or back from current source to voltage source. So for easier analysis, source transformation may be effective. First, we will see how to convert a voltage source to current source. Suppose we have a voltage source in series with a resistance R. This can be converted to a current source in parallel with resistance R. So the value of current source will be V by R and the resistance in parallel will be the same. For example, if suppose we have a voltage say 10 volt in series with 2 ohm, when you convert it, it will be equivalent to a current source having value equal to 10 by 2, which is 5 ampere in parallel with 2 ohm. So that is how you convert voltage source to current source. Now next is how to convert current source to voltage source, the reverse process. Suppose we have a current source of value I connected in parallel with resistance R. You can convert it to an equivalent voltage source in series with the same resistance, and the value of voltage source will be I into R. Suppose we have a current source of value say 2 ampere and a resistance 4 ohm, then it will be equivalent to 8 volt in series with 4 ohm. So this is very useful for network analysis. You will make use of this. So learn these two conversions thoroughly. Now I forgot to mention how to notate voltage source and current source. These are things which you already know. A voltage source, DC voltage source, is denoted by plus minus or minus plus depending on its polarity. Whereas an AC source, voltage source, is denoted by showing a sine wave inside a circle. Current source depends upon the direction of current flow. It can be an upward arrow or downward arrow. In order to show it's an AC, we put a sine wave. These notations are used if the sources are independent sources. The value which it provides doesn't depend on other circuit parameters. All are put inside a circle. Next we will see the dependent sources. As said earlier, dependent sources doesn't have a fixed value, or it doesn't provide a fixed value of voltage or fixed value of current. Instead, the value it provides depend upon some circuit parameters. Now here I have shown 4 different types of dependent circuits. Dependent circuits are notated using a diamond shape. Within that, if I am writing it as plus minus, it means it's a voltage source, and if it is an upward or downward arrow, it is a dependent current source. Now in the first one, we see that it's a voltage source, and what is the value of the voltage? It is shown as 4V1. That means the voltage which it provides is 4 times V1, where V1 is some voltage across a particular element in that circuit. Suppose if V1 is 2 volt, then this voltage source will provide 8 volt. If suppose V1 is 1 volt, it will be providing 4 volt. So like that, depending upon the value of V1, the voltage it provides will vary. So such source is called as voltage controlled voltage source. It is a voltage source whose value is controlled by voltage at some point. So it is VCVS, or voltage controlled voltage source. In the second one, we can say again it's a voltage source, and the value is 2I1, where I1 is current flowing through some particular branch in the circuit. So depending upon the value of I1, the value of the source will change, and hence it is a current controlled voltage source. The third one is a current source, a dependent current source, whose value is 2 times V2. So it's a voltage controlled current source. And the last one is 3 into I2, where the current provided by the source depends upon current flowing through one particular branch in the network. So it's called a current controlled current source. So there are 4 types of dependent sources: voltage controlled voltage source, current controlled voltage source, voltage controlled current source, and current controlled current source. Now we'll see some examples of several circuit connections. Now see the first one. Here 2 voltages are connected in series. Plus minus, opposite polarities are connected in series. So the battery will add up. The output voltage will be V1 plus V2. Second case, it is plus minus, minus plus. So you should take care of the polarities when dealing with voltage source. If opposite polarity are joined in series, it will add up. But when here in the second case, it is minus and minus are connected together. So the output voltage will be the difference between V1 and V2. In the first case, plus minus voltage will get added up. Second case, plus minus minus plus. So it will find the difference. Now third case is two voltage sources connected in parallel. You cannot connect two voltage sources of different values in parallel. So if you want to connect two current sources in parallel, the value of V1 and V2 should be the same. So parallel branches always have same voltages. Now fourth case is two current sources connected in parallel. If the direction is same, then it will add up I1 plus I2. And fifth case is the direction is different. One is in the upward direction and other is in the downward direction. So net current will be the difference between I1 and I2. And the last one, two current sources, you cannot connect it in series unless it is of same value. So you can connect current source of same value together, and the final current will also be the same. So these are the different possible connections. So that is all about energy sources. Thus we have covered almost all network elements: resistor, capacitor, inductor, voltage source and current source. Now we will see star to delta transformation and delta to star. Again, by using this transformation, analysis of circuits can be made easy at very many times. So we learn this also. Delta, first we will see Y to delta transformation. Suppose we have a Y circuit or a star network having impedances Z1, Z2 and Z3. We need to convert it to a delta form having ZAB, ZAC and ZBC. Now to convert star to delta, the thing to be memorized is shown there in red. It is sum of products by opposite. That is, suppose you want to find out the branch ZAB. Now when you watch the terminals A and B, which is the impedance lying opposite to terminal A and B in Y, it is Z3, right? So the numerator is the same. It is the sum of product for all the three. Sum of product is Z1, Z2 plus Z2, Z3 plus Z1, Z3. That remains the same. Only thing is that denominator changes. So denominator is the, you have to take the opposite branch. That is, suppose you have, if you are finding out ZAB, then check the star form. What is the branch opposite to ZAB? To AB terminal, it is Z3. Same way, when you find out BC, ZBC, the opposite lying one is Z1. Same way, when you are trying to find out AC, the opposite branch is Z2. So likewise, you can write down the equations for ZAB, ZBC and ZAC. Numerator is the same, just the denominator is different. Now moving on to delta to star transformation. Again, here the common formula is denominator remains the same. It is always the total, that is ZAB plus ZBC plus ZAC, and the numerator will be product. By product, what I mean is, now suppose I need to find out the branch between ZAB and ZAC, which is Z1. The numerator will be ZAB into ZAC. To find out Z2, it will be ZAB into ZBC. Same way, to find out Z3, it will be between ZAC and ZBC. So this is the formula for finding out Z1, Z2 and Z3. So these equations, how to convert star to delta and delta to star, should be memorized so that you can apply when you need.